Hello all, Alex here with the Wisconsin Computer Club. Welcome back to the shop. And tonight I want to talk a little bit more about the kind of things that we want to take to shows for the Wisconsin Computer Club, but we don't for various reasons. And tonight I want to explore something that's a little bit more interesting on that front in what is considered retro tech. And the definition varies from person to person, from field to field, even what the type of tech is. Some things become retro very quickly, like cell phones, which are turned over very, very, very fast. And some things, take a long time to become retro, especially if the technology is very stable. Other things, especially for what we're doing, where it comes to computers and video games and things that play games, generally speaking, for our demonstrations and shows, things that are between about 15 and 20 years old is when things start to kind of enter the retro sphere of things. And it's one of those kind of uncomfortable things to talk about because it always makes you feel old the more you look at it. Like when I started hearing people talk about how the PlayStation 3 is a retro console, the Wii is a retro console. Now people are even saying the Wii U is like a retro console, and the PlayStation 4 is going to be a retro console soon. It's like, really? And it's like, yeah, the PlayStation 4 has been out for a long time. It's like, oh, man, that's rough, but we're headed that way. The technology, of course, is always expanding, always evolving, always getting better, and so the stuff becomes old and obsolete a lot quicker now. So in theory, things will become retro quicker now, but because they didn't last as long, maybe they won't be as big of a footprint on them, and that's something that we're looking to address. So the tech in question here are laptops, and not just into laptops, they are tiny little things. This one here's got one of our stickers on it, but this is an HP Mini. It's a 2008 model. They made a bazoodle of these things starting between about 2006 to about 2012, when the kind of netbook craze was, and then kind of faded off into obscurity in history. The idea, of course, is very simple. People want laptops, but they want them to be as small as possible. And so the computer industry obliged people. They were like, yes, we will continue to make these little itty-bitty laptops that are functional, but only just, and they're small, compact, lightweight form factor is the biggest selling point. They're very lightweight, they're very minimally featured. This one's kind of cool. It has an Ethernet port, it has an SD card reader, and a VGA port on the side, and it's got USB. It's like, wow, this thing's got a lot of features on it. It has a headphone jack. That's pretty cool. This one here has actually been used in one Wisconsin Computer Club show once, but not as an actual display item. We used it to actually feed audio into the TRS-80 Model 1 computer, like a million years ago at a different show. And it was funny because this thing actually got a little bit of attention there because we just had it set up there to feed the audio in, and because I was simulating being the tape player for the TRS-80. And some of the kids were like, oh my gosh, it's such a tiny little computer. It's like, yeah, I suppose, the kids now have not, they weren't around to see this stuff, and nobody kept them because, of course, they were junky little things kind of back then too. They didn't have a whole lot of memory on them. I think if this thing has a gig of memory, I'd be surprised. And they ran very slow. They ran kind of hot. The processors were essentially cell phone processors that were, pressed into laptop service. So they're not great for even really gaming, but there are things they can play, especially if you roll back to things like kind of from the XP era and things that aren't as picky about the screen resolution or graphics or that kind of thing. You can get some kind of fun things on these things. And I'd love to start bringing some of these things to shows because we've got a few of them. We've got this one here, that's an HP Mini. This one here is a bright red Dell Mini. Mini was a popular name for these little things. This one's a little bit smaller, a little bit heavier too. This one has, once again, an Intel Atom processor. This one says it's designed for Windows XP, so this would have been probably a little bit earlier. I don't know what the actual, does it have a date on here? Does it have a date? It does not. Nope, nothing on there. But yeah, this one's still kind of in the same netbook craze from the late 2000s there. But we have one in the collection that's really special, and it's damaged, it needs some work, but once it's up and running, I think this is going to be a really fun little toy to take to shows and show off for the people at large. So I'm just going to pull it up here. There we go. So this is a little Sony Vaio. Sony, of course, released a boodle of these things in Japan, where they were even more popular than they were here in the US. But this is an actual US model. This one is a VGN P92KS. I don't know what kind of processor it's got. I can't imagine it's anything stronger than an Atom, but it's surprisingly full-featured for how tiny it is. I mean, it makes these other ones look kind of giant. But it has a full keyboard on here. It has a full install of Windows 7 Home, although I think I have the hard drive out of it right now. The only problem with this one is that the screen is shot. So let's see if I can power it up here. I'll leave it here, maybe. There we go. Yeah, so it's got this kind of weird damage on the screen there. We're planning on getting that replaced. You have to import them from Japan, but they are still available from Japan, so we just gotta get around to actually doing it. Yeah, operating system not found. I thought I'd put a drive in it, but I did not last time. So, but yeah, I think these kind of little computers here, they represent an interesting moment in history between kind of when laptops were in vogue and they were getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and then when tablets came in, these were wiped out and nobody wanted them anymore. And while there are still some kind of netbooks and Chromebooks and that kind of thing today that kind of fill this same sort of market segment, they're not nearly as popular or prevalent as they were back then, and even the smaller Chromebooks are quite a bit bigger than these are. They've got a little bit better keyboards, they've got certainly better specs and that sort of thing. So it's an interesting little look at what used to be kind of the way the computing was going for a few years there. And I think the people who lived through it will think it's kind of cool to see these things up and running again. I think for the people who didn't live through it will be excited to learn about them for the first time. You know, these itty-bitty little laptop computers of yesteryear. And when we find some games that are halfway decent to put on them, then, you know, they'll be able to play some games from the time period as well and hopefully have a good time with them. And experience something that they may not have ever thought of or know about or learn about otherwise, that would otherwise be forgotten. So a very cool little set of machines, but like I say, probably won't be going out to shows anytime real soon, although they are very portable. Yeah, just a neat little array of contraptions. So hopefully someday soon, whenever Windows 7 is fully declared retro. I don't think it's fully retro yet. I know enough businesses that are still using it. So, but yeah, that's those, and that's that. Thank you all very much for indulging me in my kind of unusual lighting setup I've got here. I'm trying a couple different things here, yeah, enjoy the rest of the stream and have a great night.